bring some comedy stylings your way. The legendary Jimmy Fields, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy Fields.
What a night, Tuesday night here at the Maui Sugar Mill. I'm gonna swear, I'm gonna dance, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get your attention. I don't like black people. Do I have your attention? I don't like most black people I don't like. I'll be honest, I don't like most black people, folks. But it's not because I'm racist. I don't like most white people either. I don't like most people. Are you listening yet?
I'm Jimmy Fields. Don't worry, I hate way more white people than black people. Sorry, the blacks. I know you're doing your level best, but it's just a numbers thing. And you know which white people I hate the most? The ones that act like black people. I can't stand those white people. It's one of the few things I have in common with most blacks. Aside from maybe high blood pressure and a sweet tooth, I be hating me some hard R wiggers.
Usually in an episode about race.
Okay, I don't know about you, but I am tired of the army of race bots in the media spouting their endless opinions about race and racism. This is not to say race isn't the most explosive powder keg to the coming race war in which most of us will die, but it is so boring.
The concept is implicit bias.
I'll save you the trouble of the DEI chastisement sermon. If white people did it, or do it, or enjoy it, it's racist. Thank you, overweight sisters with highly attainable degrees in genderqueer ethnic studies. We get it, okay? White people have colonized, enslaved, and tortured everyone else in the world to create a system of privilege, and deep down, every single one of you wishes you were white. We get it. What you learn with a six-figure college degree is the path to a queer-positive, multicultural, socialist paradise requires getting rid of whiteness. Unfortunately, it's going to take a little more time for all the good white allies to off themselves. But until that blessed day, just for funsies, let's try to imagine a world without white people.
Imagine there's no white folks, no cops to bust your crew, no one around to invent stuff and do the things you can't do. Imagine all your people in grass skirts and mud huts to you.
Yeesh. Yes, certainly you're welcome. But a thank you would have been nice. Nope, not one. Even today, just more of this.
A racist sign was found near Bellingham High School.
Here in Southbury, there were messages of white supremacy found in several places around town.
Now, as a liberal, I can assure you, I recognize the errors of the past. And I ache for any pain any people has ever experienced, anywhere at any time, especially my blacks, because they struggle every day, struggle with the memory, the legacy of the inhumane, shameful, and probably embarrassing slavery that all white people took part in. But at last, some much-needed good news for Black America. Racist bird names are going to be changed. As a liberal, I feel an estimated 63% of that same anguish and pain every black person must experience whenever they hear the words Bullock's Oriole, Hammond's Flycatcher, or Lewis's Woodpecker. It's a searing pain in the soul, which, when you have as much soul as black people, must be unbearable. And what about the birds? Imagine how they must feel flying around with white people's names, which is the definition of species-based racism. It might be because I'm hypersensitized to even the slightest presence of racism, but I've always gotten a weird twinge of discomfort anytime I heard the name of a bird that had a white person's name. Walker's warbler? Could you sound more racist? It's a subgroup of a non-migratory wren common to the Carolinas, which are a brighter chestnut than a Swainson's warbler, with a barred tail that is often held up. Named during the Civil War for a recently promoted Lieutenant Everett Walker, a non-slave-owning Confederate who in 1864 had the grave misfortune of being 22, and worse, being between William Tecumseh Sherman and Georgia's Atlantic coast. The fourth son to his store-owner father Miles Walker, Everett was an artistic, bookish child, raised reading Latin classics with a dream of one day being an architect. In late November, he and the remains of his regiment, mostly Carolina farm boys he'd grown up with and stragglers from other companies already wiped from existence, were given the task of repelling any wandering Yankee forces attempting to make their way around the bend in Gopher Hill Creek. Low on ammunition and vastly outnumbered, Walker and his men fought tooth and nail with endless small waves of passing Union troops who took more lives from his ranks with each encounter. On the third day of relentless hand-to-hand fighting, Walker was shot 4 times. One ball grazed his neck, 2 others found his right wrist and shoulder, but the 4th, believed to have torn his pancreas, was the most troubling. Walker gathered his troops and gave thanks for the brief honor of commanding them in battle, and shared once more what Sherman's men had in mind for their wives and their families, should they pass. Now leaderless, his men fought throughout the night, while the designated Sawbones ended Walker's dreams of being an architect by removing his shattered right arm without anesthesia, while tending to the potential sepsis of his agonizing chest wound. But when the sun rose, the guns had fallen silent. During the night, the Yankees had bugged out. As Walker's men counted their many dead, for the first time in days, those still alive heard the morning song of the local wren. When 10 a.m. arrived, so too did reinforcements after a feverish 2-day march. With those birds, from then on to be known as Walker's Warblers, the troops joined in whistling a song, overjoyed that they would live to fight another day. Well, another 14 hours. Walker and most of his men would be overrun and killed when the exhausted reinforcements guarding their left flank collapsed into disarray before an inept but ultimately effective Union night attack. For now, the bird named to honor that brief window of hope by men caught in a nightmare they never sought will be called by its Latin name, Thryotherus ludovicianus. But fear not, all you moody, hard-loving, rebel ornithologists. The lower Atlantic wren is also being considered. Do you think at any point the people behind the name change will come to realize that knowing anything about birds at all is just another racist white privilege? Because as we've been told, everything is racist. To be clear, the ceaseless media drumbeat about race is to support a simplistic black and white narrative about whites and blacks. You either agree with every pro-black crackpot idea, lowering school standards, getting rid of cash bail, defunding police, reparations, or you're the lowest form of human scum, the racist bigot. An easy, if cowardly, choice for too many people. Here in the 20th century, some of us have the luxury of holding our past to our current moral and ethical standards. Here's something to consider. Black men fought during the Civil War, on both sides. Imagine that, a black man serving to undercut the very fortunes, freedom, and health for himself and his kin. Why would a slave fight for slavery? Because as we've been repeatedly told, at its economic and moral core, the Civil War was about slavery. And it was. Certainly as much as the Gulf Wars were about WMD or freedom or a war on terror or oil. Right or wrong, there were probably reasons a black slave might serve under the Confederacy other than to preserve slavery. Maybe he was promised his freedom or freedom for his children or acreage. Maybe he was supporting the South because he himself was a slave owner. Just what manner of blind self-interest must a person have to be willing to undermine the fortunes of their own race? I don't have the answer. Perhaps you might ask a pimp, or drug dealer, a gang leader, or carjacker, or drill rapper, or hood rat. They do it every day. Or ask the race-hustling frauds who enrich themselves using black corpses to drive a false narrative of rampant police brutality and murder against blacks. And though the Civil War was about slavery, I suspect that for the majority, perhaps the overwhelming majority of combatants, that's not why they fought. You think the Union soldiers marched and died because they had a burning desire to bring freedom to slaves of a color they may have never seen, and who, though perhaps only a few hundred miles away, may as well have been on another continent? Is that what the widows of Minnesota told their children when their daddy's body never came back from some field in Pennsylvania? He did it to free the slaves. Kid looks around. What's a slave? What's a black? And yet, the question of black slavery would only be settled when over 600,000 American soldiers, overwhelmingly white, had given up their lives. That's approximately the same number of men who died in the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Mexican War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the Late Night Wars combined. Now imagine, if you can, a world where the shoe were on the other foot, where black folk had white slaves. I have to admit already it's pretty enticing to be able to yell at the help and not need Spanish. But if blacks could buy whites, own them, work them, breed them, how many of them would give their lives to set white people free? Sure, brothers would still be stealing stuff, but only to buy more white slaves. Bring me another mint julep, white boy. So it might seem today that being white is very easy. But imagine, black brother, if you could never say the N-word. Never. It's a well-documented fact that most black guys' heads will explode if they don't let at least one N-word out, way too loud, in a public place, every 6 minutes. Their heads literally pop.
You have 5 minutes to make your opening statement.
Though it ain't easy, I can at times go days without saying it. But eventually I have to go somewhere in my car, and, well, you know how that is. And unlike you P's of C, I'm not allowed to turn every situation into an expression of violence. Going to the ATM, walking down the street, enjoying the sights on public transit, or waiting for my tartar sauce. I, as a white person, am expected to remain calm and courteous. I don't have the privilege of getting to destroy or shoot up a place when I'm upset. In fact, there are laws that prohibit me, as a white person, from doing that. Going back a few years, there was a word you could use to smear someone if you wanted to destroy them or take their power. That word was communist. Today, that word has been replaced with racist, and it's really only used against one group of people. For a white person to have an opinion on race is racist. For a white person to think he has the right to an opinion about race is racist. Though actual racism has nearly disappeared from the face of the earth, more and more things have had to become racist to keep the system of racism or institutional racism narrative going. So now, everything is racist. But be honest, back when there was real racism, wasn't the economy better? Weren't our kids' test scores better? Life expectancy longer, crime rate lower, home ownership a possibility, better music, better TV shows, less pollution in the air, less guns in our schools, less violence, less shootings. Look, I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you what I think. I don't care what you think, because I'm in show business, so you have to listen to me. You think it's because the color of their skin that businesses don't want to invest in black communities? Come on.
What do we want?
Reparation!
When?
But before we give out billions in reparations for California's terrible, disgraceful legacy of slavery, shouldn't we address the grievances of the oldest slaves? Women? Shouldn't they be first in line for reparations? John Lennon famously said, "Woman is the nigger of the world." Woman is the nigger of the nigger of... It's not letting me say it. Nigger... Nigger... Woman is the... Damn it. Nigger. So annoying. Nig. Boy, YouTube's new everyone else gets a pass on that word except white people AI is really good. Doesn't matter, you get my point. Aren't the ladies due a bunch of money and stuff for all their hundreds of thousands of years of oppression while men invented and developed everything? As a good liberal, I think we need to address that before race reparations. And after the ladies, maybe do the Indians next? What's left of them? Nope. You know, some people, if there's free stuff, they're going to try to cut in line. The truth is, here in these United States, we all lead a first world life of relative convenience, comfort, and freedom. And you still get to pop off about how much you hate it here, for the most part, unopposed. The United States offers whites, yellows, purples, and yes, blacks a better deal than they'll get anywhere else in the world, especially Africa. Ask yourself, one black person who's still listening, what's the meanest, low-down, dirtiest, most horrible thing someone's ever done to you? Lied to you, stole from you, beat you, shot you, injured you, called you the N-word. Was it done by a white person? Was it because of your race? Or was it a family member, a neighbor, a coworker, a stranger at your local Popeyes? I submit that for many, racism is their boogeyman, an almost magical, oppressive force from which there is no escape, but can be blamed for any of their failings. Racism is voodoo, and like voodoo, it only works if you believe in it. Yeah, I said it. Hey, thanks for watching till the end. Be sure to check out the after party. The link is right up here for more thoughts and stuff on this matter. Check out my channel, and please leave a like or a comment. Help a man get rich.
Folks, I'm trying to piss you off up here and you're not giving me anything. You either do your part or I'm going to start doing comedy.